allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everybody to the City of Wall Lake Council meeting, October 14th, 2024, 7 p.m. Need a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
So the movement says to approve the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
I'll make that motion to approve minutes from last meeting.
Second that.
So the movement said that we approve the minutes of the last meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Payroll's caught up. Bills to pay, Francis.
Yep, the only one we need to add, excuse me, is Rick Hoppy for a clothing allowance for $197.92. That changes our final number to 153,592.35. Everything else looks good.
Make a motion to pay the bills with the addition for a copy of clothing allowance.
I'll second that.
Movement said we approve the bills and the addition of Rick Hoppy's clothing allowance. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll open the public hearing for electric rate increase in ordinance 2024-04.
I have had no comments.
Anybody else have any comments?
Alright.
I make a motion to close the public hearing for the electrical rate increase for these 204-04.
Second that.
So Moon said we close the public hearing for electric rate increase.
Hey, before you call for a roll, let's see if anybody here, just since we do have somebody here, let's see if anybody here is here.
Does anybody have any questions on the electric rate increase? Seeing none, I'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Public forum.
We will start pickup of kids at our church tomorrow
I
morning.
seen a few questions on that, and my daughter called me, and someone else called me on that.
Yeah, I had some too, and once I explained it, everybody was
They understood it, yeah.
But, Lisa Gallup will supervise. We're all good with it at the church.
That's good, that's a good place, because we talked
So
about
I
before.
talked to Becky Halbert today to finalize everything, and so I think we're good to go tomorrow, so it'll be a pickup in the morning, and then a pickup and drop off at noon with the preschool, and then drop off after school, so.
Good.
I think we're good to go with that.
That's definitely a positive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Obviously chaotic up there, no, the stuff up the school is kinda chaotic, we just talked about. Anything else?
Yeah, our building will be closed tomorrow and probably Wednesday. We planned for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but talking to our guys, I think they'll get it on maybe even late tomorrow. But just a lot of wires you gotta pull out and put back in, and you never know what you run into. So just want to make sure you guys know that. We kind of had that out a little bit. So.
Anything else? Okay. Old business, discuss approved DPT and performance purchase agreement or contract.
So, I talked to, Ian Green. He's from Council Bluffs area, maybe Omaha, I don't know exactly which, but, he talked me through some of the process that we have to go through to be able to sell a piece of the building. And the first thing that we have to do is we have to get it condominiumized. And so I talked to our attorney about that, and he is, he's willing to help us through that. But that takes some time. There's a process to all of that. So we're gonna start doing that, and, hopefully we'll have that done in not too long of a time. And once we get it condominiumized, then, Ian's gonna do a little bit of work and try to see, cause he talked about, there's 3 different ways to, put a value on something. 2 of them are looking at something similar to what's going on, and there's not really a lot of that around here. So that part's gonna be difficult, so, you know, there's one other piece that, he's gonna look at and I guess we'll see what happens.
But he will probably give us an appraisal once that's done.
I think he'll be able to give us something.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what that looks like, but, yeah, I think he'll be able to give us something.
Okay.
So I think that'll be, I think that'll be a couple of month long process, I would guess. So I'll continue to, update you guys on that.
And Megan and Duval were aware that it could take that long and everything.
No, I have not had any conversation with them. I've emailed them stuff that we've talked about, but I have not sat them down and said, this is what we're doing. Figured we'd try to get our ducks in a row and then sit down with them and say, this is kind of what's going on.
Okay, next thing, discuss and approve meter reading equipment purchase.
Yeah, so what do you guys think about this? I don't know, we talked about it at the last meeting. I don't really have anything else to say much, other than if you guys have questions.
It's gotta be done, doesn't it? They're getting.
It's getting to the point where we can't keep kicking it down the road, and I think, Doug, what we'll do is, tell them that we want it, and then I think it'll be like a delivery date of next July. And I believe that we can pay for it then also.
So we're okay doing over to now till then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and the reason why we would wait until July is, that's kind of gonna be the deadline.
Oh,
And what they told me is if we get this in, then any price increase between now and then wouldn't affect us.
so they will lock in the price then? Okay.
But it's gonna go up.
Oh, sure.
That's what it does. But yeah, Doug, I don't think we've got any real, choice in the matter, honestly. We can wait for a while.
I make the motion to approve the, new meter reading equipment.
Second that.
We said we approved the meter reading equipment purchase. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next thing, discuss and approve open area south of pool for sale.
So, talked to you guys about this a couple of times now, and in the last meeting, we talked about having some kind of an idea of what the space is gonna be used for and that kind of thing. So I don't know, I talked to Lee, and I think that's probably why Lee's here right now. I talked to him about it, and didn't know exactly how that looked. So I just kind of came up with this form and thought, at least this will give us an idea of who's interested in it. What are they interested in? Do they want the whole space? Do they want part of it? And what are they gonna do with it? Because part of what you talked about was, what's it look like? If there's a building there, then that's a positive, because we're gonna get tax valuation out of that, right? So, and I don't know, Lee, if you wanna add anything to that, or if that's even the reason why you're here.
Yeah, I'm just listening to what was said, I guess.
So I guess I would ask you guys what you think about this form, and is this something that you wanna do? You wanna have this form? You want people to fill this form out, or you want something different than this? What are your thoughts?
I don't think it's enough for you.
Can you give us an idea of what they're using it for? Kind of idea, what the would pay. I think it's a good form.
Is that on your website? Or where is that at?
No, it's on.
Just hasn't been,
Yeah, I mean,
hasn't been released yet.
no.
Okay.
Until they approve it, we're not gonna do anything.
Don't.
with it. But what we would do probably then is, if you guys do approve this, we'll talk to the two people that have come to us and said, hey, I'm interested in this space. And then we would put it somewhere, whether it's in the paper or, you know, on Facebook or maybe both, maybe on the TV channel, that kind of thing, and then just get it out to the public. Because if we sell a piece of property, we have to put it in the paper that we're doing that, and we have to put the price in there that we're doing it and all that kind of stuff. Just make sure everybody knows about it, and then, you know, you gotta leave it open for objection and that kind of thing. So,
So as of now, there's two. Interesting.
right.
I'm okay with the four.
Need a motion to approve this then?
Yeah, if you would, Ben.
I make a motion that we approve the pool green space evaluation form.
Second that.
So moved and seconded, we approved the pool green space evaluation form. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next thing, discuss and approve ordinance 2024-04, second reading of an ordinance amending electric rate in Wall Lake Code or ordinance.
Okay, so, like I did in the last meeting, I'll just read the pieces that are changing. So for residential service, the summer energy rate will go from 0.08622 to 0.09122 per kWh. Winter for residential service the first 1,000 kWh will go from 0.08622 to 0.09122 per kWh. And anything over 1,000 kilowatt hours will go from 0.06622 to 0.07122 per kWh. So that represents a half a cent per unit increase. Commercial service, very similar, half a cent increase. Is going to go from, in the summer, it's going to go from 0.08338 to 0.08838 per kWh. Winter, then same, you know, first 1,000 kWh is going to go from 0.08338 to 0.08838 per kWh, and anything over that 1,000 kWh is going to go from 0.06338 to 0.06838 per kWh. And then the industrial is going to go from, and this doesn't have summer and winter, this is both. So the first 5,000 kWh is going to go from 0.0645 to 0.067, and anything over that's going to go from 0.055 to 0.0575, and that represents a 0.025 2.5 cent increase per unit charge. And this, just like our sewer rates, this won't start until January 1st.
I make a motion we approve ordinance 2024-04, amending electrical rates.
I'll second that.
We moved and seconded, we approved 2024-04, amended electrical rates. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, on to new business. Discuss and approve Ben Smith's express concerns with city issuance permits in violation of city ordinance and rules.
Yep. Thank you, council. Quick backstory. August of 2020, neighbor to 302 West 3rd Street began constructing a fence on her property line, our shared property line, in violation of the city ordinance that it existed at that time. She began building it without a permit. We brought that up to the city. City met with her, told her that she needed a permit. She continued building on the property line in violation of city ordinance at that time. Again, without a permit, and in violation of city ordinance. Fast forward to approximately 3 months after I left country to deploy, City Council here amended its ordinance, 2 ordinances, one a zoning ordinance, the other one a regular ordinance. The zoning ordinance was amended to allow for city residents to put fences on a property line. We're one of the few cities in Iowa that allows for that. It's just not a thing, it doesn't exist, it exists in Iowa, in Wall Lake, and that's fine. The other one had to do with the neighbor's pit bull at the time, and that pit bull, we had made consistent efforts to alert the city that a pit bull that had been identified by the city council in 2012 or 2013 as having attacked residents in the city, that pit bull was still residing at that residence in violation of city ordinance. City ordinance, the city council passed in bulk in March of 2020, all its ordinances. It has to recodify the ordinances every so often. In that March 2020 recodification, there was an ordinance that prohibited pit bulls in the city. After I and my wife continued making calls to Chris that this pit bull lived there, shortly thereafter, even though about 4 months earlier the city decided that pit bulls were dangerous animals that should not be allowed, the city began the process of amending this ordinance to allow pit bulls. First, I was told that the ordinance as it existed that prohibited pit bulls violated state law. That's not true. It doesn't. It didn't. It still doesn't. I leave. I deploy, and within 3 months, the city has changed 2 laws, allowing pit bulls and allowing fence on the property lines. Okay. Fast forward to July 2nd of 2021, our neighbor finally obtains a permit to build a fence on the property line. This is after the city has amended its zoning ordinance to allow for fences on the property line. And for the next 1.5 years, the neighbor does nothing but stockpiles garbage, pieces of fencing against her property. And for 1.5 years, we sat there and had to live with it. And prior to the expiration of her permit, we asked the city for permission to get our own permit. If she's not going to put one up, then we will put one up. We were told expressly that she had the right, as long as her permit was valid, to put that fence on the property line, that she owned that property line until her permit expired. Fence never got put up. Fast forward to this year, May or June, my wife and I decided to finally put in an application to put a fence on the property line. That application I do not have here with me, but on September 24 of this year, I received a call from your city clerk asking for my side of the story. I'm at a murder scene investigating a murder. I'm getting a phone call about a fence. You get a phone call from the city clerk, and he says, I want to hear your side of the story. And what side of the story? Well, he said, you told the neighbor that she needed a new building permit to complete her fence. And this is 2 years after her permit expired, before she could continue building this fence. And I said, that's exactly what I told her. Just like I was told we needed a permit, we had to wait until she was done in order for us to put a fence up on our property line. She had to do the same. And the city clerk said, well, if you don't have anything done within 30 days, then then it's Hertzman. I can't remember exactly what the city clerk said, but that nowhere in your zoning ordinances will you find anything that says anything about 30 days. What you will see is something that says if no end date is permitted or required in the permit, then you have you have 18 months to finish it. My wife and I have no intention of waiting 18 months. We waited 2.5, almost 3 years for our neighbor to put her fence up. And then after we get a permit to do it, all of a sudden she wants to put it back up. But then I'm told, this courtesy phone call that I got from the city clerk said, I want to hear your side of the story. After I gave the side of the story, he says, well, I already told her that she can do it. Your city clerk gave permission to another city resident to construct a fence without a permit in violation of city ordinance and state law. I had a conversation with Tommy Schrader about it. I don't know if he's talked to you about it. Because of we have had a difficult time getting fencing sized because issues that are out of our control. Most recently, the weather over in the eastern part of the state has held up the delivery of our fencing materials. I wanted to bring that to your attention because this is not the first issue that we've had with the city clerk. My wife had met multiple times with him while I was deployed and felt that she was treated with disrespect. Okay. And I hadn't really seen that side of your city clerk until he told me on the phone, well, you've had enough time. I gave your neighbor permission to go ahead and put that up. Okay. I cited the code section. Your city zoning ordinances that says building permits shall expire 18 months after the date of issuance. Excuse me. ATS. Within 180 days, if no substantial beginning of construction is occurred.
Read the rest of that, will you, Ben?
I'll read the entirety of it for you, Chris. Building permits shall expire 18 months after the date of issuance if work is begun within 180 days or after 180 days if no substantial beginning construction has occurred. 180 days. Not 30, 180 days. 6 months.
What's the last sentence say, though?
The zoning administrator may grant extensions of time in writing if the applicant shows good cause. We weren't out of time, so we're not going to ask for extension. We don't need permission. The city zoning ordinances are very clear of what an application requires. My wife and I moved here because we fell in love with the city. And if it weren't for the extraordinarily high interest rates on homes right now, we would be gone. And it's because we feel like we have been marginalized and we have been singled out. Your city councilman, Brody Steinkamp, put up a privacy fence without a building permit on the property line in violation of city ordinances. And then, after the law was changed to allow for residents to put fences on the property line, about 5 months later, Mr. Steinkamp made application for that permit with a start date of yesterday. This is I don't know, a year after the fence is already completed. The application process also requires a number of steps that you have to go to in order to get to the point where the city council can consider an application. Mr. Steinkamp, who, at least according to the minutes, voted to approve his own permit, obtained one retroactively. And as I'll point out to you right now, as that fence exists right now, it's in violation of city ordinance because the nice side is facing inward. There's no exception granted, there was no variance granted, and then, at least according to what I'm seeing here, and this is from the documents we received from the city, that we paid over $350 to see. There was no money that was ever exchanged. No application fee was ever made. The city application process requires
Who did you pay $350 to?
what?
Who did you pay $350 to?
The city of Wall Lake.
Do you have that check?
Yeah.
I'd really like to see that because we didn't charge you $350.
I'll send it to you. I'll send the invoice as well.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Okay, so we're talking about disparate treatment. We're asking for equal treatment under the laws that exist. That's all we're asking for. We never asked for any. We sat by. We follow the rules, and now we're being told by your city clerk that our neighbor now, without a permit, without having to go through this process, can now put a fence on our property. I don't care if our neighbor illegally puts up a fence in their front yard without a permit. The issue with us is our contractor told us the cost of putting up a fence next to hers while it was already up would be almost double. And I don't think that that's right. I'll also point out, and it's hard to feel that my wife and I haven't been picked on throughout the last 3 or 4 years. In July of 2021, again while I'm gone, the city installs an electrical box on our property, not on the city's property, but on our property. You will not find another setup like this in the city. And when the young gentleman was installing it, he told my wife that it wasn't supposed to be there, but he was told by the city that the plans had changed and they were going to move it there. So right now in our backyard, this is what it looks like with all the electrical stuff. And now that box is sinking into the ground. Lastly, when the pit bull ordinance was being discussed, and I know this was a number of years ago, Peggy Yonke came and expressed her concerns with the number of pit bulls in this city. And after she did that, your city clerk called her up, expressing his dissatisfaction with her coming to this meeting, exercising her First Amendment right. And I don't think that, I know that that's not right. My father did the same thing in my stead. He wrote a letter to the editor, the city clerk called him up, expressed his dissatisfaction. That's not a city clerk's job. We're asking for equal treatment under the law. I have an application for a permit from you, the city clerk. Completely deficient. Dated July 9th of 2020. There's no additional diagram on the back that the application ordinance, the zoning ordinance requires an application to come with a description of what project you're going to do. You read city clerk's application, which was approved by the city council. It doesn't even say what his project is, and it was passed. Again, noting that there was no payment shown as to the application fee. And there's more. I'm not going to take it to city council's time. But there is one more thing. The alley that abuts the park has had our neighbor excavated it to the point where it is a nuisance. And we have witnessed kids falling into that with their bikes. But at a city council meeting in 2021, we were told that that's between neighbors. You put caution tape up for one reason, and that's to caution people that there's danger. It's been like that for 4 years. I guess I would just ask that the city council, and I do appreciate the work, at least from what I've seen from Mr. Mott and Tommy, their efforts to clean a lot of these things up is much appreciated. All we're asking for is equal treatment under the law. All we're asking for is that the city follow its own rules. That's it. We feel like we're being picked on, and I don't know, I have no idea why. No idea why. The only two ordinances that got changed in I don't know how many years were the two that benefited our neighbor and were to the detriment of me and my wife. So I appreciate you guys listening to me.
May I add something, please,
Yes.
with this whole alley situation? It is a public alley, and we live right next to a city park. And without a doubt, kids are on that all the time with their bikes, skateboards, whatever it may be. And I have complained about this since the caution tape went up over 4 years ago. 4 years ago, I have been looking at caution tape out my back window and watching kids fall down. And I brought it to Chris's attention last year, maybe a year and a half ago. I don't know. It's mind-boggling that 4 years have passed and we are still looking at a construction site that should have been completed within a 6 month time frame, according to the first building permit she had. We are still looking at the construction or deconstruction of her property and nothing being done about it. But when I went in and I asked Chris what he was going to do about this, was the only ordinance, this is the only issue I brought up. I kept my stuff separate. I asked about the public safety, and he informed me that I needed to come back in with a petition that had 25 signatures on it for him to take it seriously. Yes, you're right, Chris. Do you remember this? And in doing so, you told me that you weren't going to talk to me anymore because I was a liar. So to get out of your office.
And you're not going to find anything in your ordinances.
You will not.
That
Or
says
your
you
minutes.
need
That
a
any of
petition
this
signed by
stuff
anything.
ever happens.
So people are going to start talking and saying things and spitting out numbers and timelines to ask that they be accurate and actually be real.
So, and I ask you, City Council, what are we going to do about that alley that is a huge problem? I mean, you're asking to get sued yourselves. Like, if a kid falls down that, it is like a 4-foot cliff. This like 25 feet wide or long. I don't understand. Like, what does it take to have something done about the construction site that has been ongoing for 4 years? We played by the book. We paid for the land to be surveyed. We waited our time. We did everything we were supposed to do. All while all these ordinances are changed in her favor, and she still doesn't complete it, and she still gets verbal permission because she happens to call that day, and Chris changes the rules and says, sure, I'll give you permission because I'm sick of hearing about it.
It's not right.
That's not fair.
No.
And I'm tired of living next to it. I know I'm good.
No.
Oh, yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you
So
for your time.
I mean, but is there going to be an answer about what's going to be done about this?
Yeah, I suppose we better take a look at it.
4 years. 4 years.
I understand that.
I know.
I was not aware of that.
Steve, I brought this up to you the day you were running for city council, and you came to my deck and we talked about this.
No, we talked about pit bulls and cats.
And we talked about.
No, you and I never had that conversation, Ben, and I wouldn't.
Okay.
I'm not going against what you, but we didn't talk about fence at all. We talked about pit bulls,
Which we have 5 of that I can count out my front door.
and I've also talked to other cities and getting rid of pit bulls is almost impossible.
That's so
It's
false.
not true.
Sac City does it all the time, Steve.
Well,
All the time. And here's another thing too. While there are some responsible pit bull owners,
The majority.
but I can tell you a majority of the problems that are associated with them come with the owners that don't really care for them.
I understand that part completely.
I even brought the Iowa Supreme Court decision that says that you can have pit bull ordinances. This city's pit bull ordinance was fine. You can't have a pit bull ordinance that says pit bulls, anything that, you can have a pit bull ordinances that says no pit bulls or anything that has a pit bull mix. What you can't have is an ordinances that says anything that looks like pit bulls. That's routinely struck down. Plenty of cities enact pit bull ordinances and enforce them. Sac City does it all the time. Another thing that was brought up in the past about the pit bulls was that there are cities, and I can't remember if Mr. Lauer was on the city council this time, and said there's no such thing as cities requiring people to have extra insurance to have pit bulls. That's absolutely false. Omaha has one.
There's a pit bull problem in this town.
Because
It is.
the ones that get kicked out of towns that have ordinances, that enforce their ordinances, where are they moving to? And right now, we're living next to a gal who has a pit bull who came after residents of the city. And because of that, the city enacted a pit bull ordinance. She hid it in her basement for 8, 9, 10 years. And then when the ban got lifted, the next day she's out walking. The same dog that attacked residents, she's out there walking it. Within feet of my children. That's another issue that I have raised. So even by the city's new definition of a dangerous animal, that dog should be gone. It's difficult for Abby and I to sit here and say, this town that we love when we moved here is not the same as it was. I don't know how to reconcile all those things that I brought up. I don't know how to make sense of them. How the rules apply to some, but not the others. I feel like the ones that follow it have gone through the process of raising their concerns are then penalized. Okay? Thank you for your time.
Before we move on, I want to clear one thing up. So Ben brought up that Peggy Yonke was at a council meeting. She did come to a council meeting. She did express some concerns with dogs, pit bulls, I don't remember what it was.
Pit bulls.
But the issue that I had with Peggy, and this is what I told Peggy, is that she sat over there where Curtis is sitting, and she asked me if I condone dog biting. Right here, she asked me that. And I was very upset by that. I have a dog. I've always had a dog. So that's what I called her the next day, and I said, Peggy, don't ever ask me if I condone dog biting. Ever. Because I don't. Not at all.
So why are you disappointed in her?
For asking me in a public meeting if I condone dog biting?
You're a
Sure,
public
change the
servant.
ordinance.
That doesn't
for
make
it.
any difference.
It
man.
does make a
You
difference.
cannot do that. I don't care who it is.
Then
That's
why do we have a
ridiculous.
dog that has already attacked people living within feet of our children?
So that's all I want to say.
Yeah. See,
That-
then he just
that-
walks away and doesn't do anything.
That's not the
about
place of the city clerk to be calling
it.
up
Anybody.
people who come to express their concerns.
To call me out
So
about
should
dog
I expect
biting?
a phone call
That's
tomorrow?
ridiculous.
Peggy told us that she was scared of you and was not coming back to any more public meetings. You can
That's
shrug
your
your
opinion?
shoulders, and that you're just gonna shrug your shoulders and be like, that's okay.
You're the bully in this town, you know that?
You
You
attack,
are. You went after me. Anybody that speaks up at a meeting, you go after, and I don't understand. And that's the city clerk who you can't get an ordinance unless you go through him because they're not online. I don't know why they're not online, but they're not available to the public, but they should be.
Oh, yeah, you guys come and get them, we got a whole bunch of books right away.
I shouldn't have to come in and get them. They should be available online.
everybody else has their ordinances online, everybody.
Is that a law? I didn't know that.
It is,
It's
it's not a
convenience.
law.
It's convenient.
It's for them to be accessible, and the law, I believe, only requires one complete code behind the clerk's desk. That's it. But out of convenience, and if you click on the city ordinances right now, the city of Wall Lake, it's the 2013 version. Not the 2020 version, 2013.
So if I've been lied to, Ben, I will talk with our attorney personally about the patrol rule. Because if I've been lied to, I wanna know.
I got it right here.
But I wanna talk to our attorney,
Yep, that's fine.
city attorney, okay?
I appreciate that, Steve.
Yeah, thank you for
Then I know.
actually trying to do something. Thank you.
I also have the communications with, because it was Chris that told you that Region 12 told him that pit bull ordinances are illegal. And I immediately researched it because I saw a number of cities that had it, and I found out that that was not the case. I emailed Region 12 guy while I was overseas, and he said, I never said that. There are cities that do, like Sioux City, where you have a group of residents who love their pit bulls, kept the city in litigation all the time. It was very expensive for the city to fight, so they just said, to heck with it. That's not the case here.
But I wanna know if I've been lied to by a lot of people.
Good.
I mean, I'm not talking just here, I'm talking about other places.
Yep.
I will
Thank you.
ask that question.
Thank you.
Thank you. I
And I don't
appreciate
think
that.
anybody in this room is opposed to fixing a hazard in an alley at all.
What,
Okay.
what about a city clerk that gives verbal permission for people to erect, to do construction without a permit?
Ben, all I'm gonna say is, as far as attacking Chris, the way we're doing it right now, we should have gone into closed session. He has rights too.
This isn't a closed session topic.
Well, pretty much it is, because you've attacked our city clerk pretty hard.
Well, that's
I
all he
didn't-
does is
The
attack
thing,
us.
the
We
thing
try to
is
contact him.
that is not, this,
But then again, this should have been something that we should have been made aware of and gone into closed session.
this is not a closed session agenda item. When you're talking about the performance, when the city council is talking about the performance of a city employee or a government employee, then you can. Because we are airing our grievances against a city employee does not automatically constitute a closed session.
I understand that, but what bothers me is, and I understand why you're here and your grievances, and I listened to it, I get it. But a lot of it came out more against Chris than against maybe something as a council before me or during me has happened.
Because he's judge and jury. Like, you can't talk to anybody.
You say I'm attacking him, but I presented nothing but facts. Nothing but facts. You call that an attack. I have
So
an
we
issue.
experience.
I have an issue with something somebody under your charge has been doing, and that is not a closed session thing. And B, it is my right as a citizen to raise this myriad concerns that I've raised.
Well, obviously, we're not going anywhere tonight, so I will tell you this. I will make that phone call. We will discuss the alley.
Good.
Okay?
And can we keep,
And I will let you know personally what our attorney says.
I want to make sure that my neighbor doesn't start putting up a fence costing me extra money when I have a valid permit to be putting it
I
on the line.
understand.
That was my main purpose for coming here. And in looking back at all these meetings, right? All of a sudden I discovered all those other things I just brought up.
understand that. And I want you to understand why I ran for city council, because I'm about as pro-Wallach as anybody, and I want this pond to flourish. And I've thoroughly enjoyed working with this council and the things that we're doing, and I don't want to have the negative aspect come of Wallach.
And there's not all negative aspects, but knowing what you know, for me, what do I say? Would you want to live here if you were us? You have a pit bull that lives next door that's attacked people. You have a fence that construction that's been going on for 3.5 years. And we play by the rules, and they get circumvented with a phone call. Would you want to live here, Steve, if that was going on?
I can understand your frustration, but will you at least give us the opportunity to
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why we came here. This wasn't just a
you.
gripe
I get it.
session. This is, I'm raising legitimate, factual issues
Thank you.
and ask. Thanks.
I'm willing to do that, so.
Alright. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Hey, will you bring in that invoice?
Oh, sure,
Yeah.
yes.
Discuss and approve library board member Lisa Gullett. Item number, call her reappointment and board report.
All right, as you know, we,
Come up with you?
you sure can. No, Christine Louis, our old previous, library director, moved from, made it her trip further, so, we are pleased to announce, Stephanie King, our new library director, and we're excited to have her aboard.
Congratulations.
Yes, she's,
Did a little 180. I was nurse by profession
Oh,
for
wow.
about 15 years, and now I'm gonna try library.
oh,
It works really nice with my kids, and
It's an update tonight or tomorrow. I just shut it off.
I'm getting older,
Not
so
with smaller
this
stuff.
matches more
Yes,
my
ma'am.
pace of life these days.
yeah, and this was the summer program that we sent out, and like I said, we had, like 4 or 5 weeks of programs where it's like a magician and different things that were paid by, funds that we received from the community chest. So I mean, it made it had good turnout, and, this fall, we're planning on having a couple of adult programs, and then, well, Steph, you're doing the.
Yeah, tomorrow we've got pumpkin day. We did the little kids this morning, and then we'll do school age kids tomorrow after school. And then sometime I talked to Sadie Jacobson, and she's gonna do an adult like charcuterie class. She thinks she can do it in November, but I'm waiting to hear from her. We're playing it by ear since she just said that.
Maybe you're gonna say you're gonna do a pumpkin coloring contest and see if we get it.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah,
That's our plan so far, and then we'll do the gingerbread house day the same as we always have, the same day that the city does, like their Santa Day and everything else.
like last year, I think we had like 93.
Yeah, I think I
attend that.
remember that, yeah.
So
That's
it
awesome.
was a very nice
That's
doing
awesome.
that, so, just promoting the library and with the kids and all of that, to make it relevant with all our services, so, like, again, we're excited to have Steph on board, so.
Well, congratulations and thank you for doing that.
Yes, I'm excited. It's a lot to learn, a lot more than I thought, but,
Is it less stressful than nursing?
oh yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure, so. No, and thanks for the community chest funds, like, I wasn't working at the library in the summer, but it was all, the programs were nice, the reading incentives were nice, it was a fun deal, so.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
So we do have to approve
Yeah.
this, and second that.
I will make that motion. Work on it.
Second that.
We move that we approve the new library board members. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Ladies.
We'll tell them they're recommitted.
There you go.
Discuss and approve first look at annual urban renewal report.
Okay, I think that's on page 19.
Yep.
So, there's a couple of things on here that really aren't, well, I guess right in the middle of the expense, the general housing and urban development isn't something that goes on this report. This is strictly TIF dollars that come in, and TIF dollars that go out, and where did they go, and what did we do with them? And so, a couple of things I want to point out there is if you look at right in the middle of the revenue, under the year to date, you see 95,345.94. And then if you go down half a page, and you see transfers out of 89,146.20. And you know, obviously the revenue 95, expense of 89. That's a difference of about $6,000. So you'll see those numbers if you scroll down. Page 21 shows our commercial revenues. Okay, so that $95,000 number was our total revenue. So 83,000 of that was from the commercial side, which is the biodiesel and then Main Street. And then next page 22, you'll see the residential, a little over $12,000 in residential revenue. And then you remember I told you that the difference between 95 and 89 is $6,000. If you look at that page over on the left side, that 43% LMI, $6,199.74. So that money stays in our TIF account, and so that's the difference between those two, between the 95 and the 89, is the difference there of that $6,200. So that stays in our TIF account. We have to spend that on low and moderate income housing, or something that has to do with housing. And we've got, I don't know, $17,000 now. At the end of this year, $17,000. Now it's in the $22,000 range that we have to be able to spend on that LMI. We don't have a time limit to spend that, so it's something that we'll probably be talking about, you know, in the future, just to see where that ends up. Then if you look at page 23, you'll see a whole bunch of numbers. And that first number there, the TIF outstanding debt, that's what we certify. So we certified just under $140,000 of debt. Then the TIF revenue, the $95,244, plus $102. Basically what that $102 is for is our LMI was off just a little bit. So I transferred some money from our savings account into our TIF account to get our LMI on spot on. And so that then equals our total revenue of $95,346. And then our total non-rebate expenditure is $89,146. And so for the most part, what we do, we don't have any rebate agreements anymore. So we spend money on a project, we certify that debt, and then that comes back through our general fund, and that's the non-rebate expenditures is what we do there. And the majority of this one was electric. I don't know if I remember. And so then everything 24 through those are all pages that kind of get a little more detail of what happened with that money. That end of that report would be 37. So this is the first look at this. This isn't something that I'm going to ask you guys to approve tonight, but it does look like, yeah, if you look at page 38, 39, those are two pages that show what we certified the debt for, or what the debt was that we certified. want a hard copy, we can get you a hard copy of both of these, so you can kind of look at them. Look at where the numbers are at, where they go, that kind of thing. So, that's all I got about that, unless you guys have some questions about it right now. This is something that we obviously have to do every year, and, really pretty simple, but if you have questions, I'll try to answer them.
Discuss approved resolution 2024-25, budget approving TIF expenditures. So we're trying to get November.
So,
That's on page 4.
Basically, you just need a motion to accept that resolution, correct, for what you're doing there?
no, this doesn't have anything to do with what we just talked about.
Okay.
So this is this year's certification.
Oh, okay.
So last year we certified electrical stuff and some attorney fees and that kind of stuff. This year we're gonna certify some of the construction work that we did on the east side of the building at the racket. And you can see there it's $110,000. I don't know if I added. Yeah, I got it.
110, 157.
Yeah, and the detail of that then is on page 41. Well, I guess I shouldn't say the detail. I should have the detail there for you. So here's how the detail works. If you look at page 41, we spent $211,000, or actually $247,000 on the total north and south of the east half. We certified last year about a little over $37,000 of that money. So then if you take that off of the 247,377, you come up with 110,157. Oh yeah, it's right at the top there. Right under that performance cost, I detailed that. We got a grant of 100,000, so we can't obviously certify that. That's not debt. The balance then is 110,157 that we can certify in 2024. We will not get that amount. We don't have enough TIF to be able to get all that, but it'll be in that $80,000 range probably again. Should be. So that's what this is doing, Steve. This is for this year, not.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2024-25.
Second that.
It's been moved and said that we approve resolution 2024-25. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Discuss approve resolution 2024-26 street financial report.
So, another report that we get to do. This one's really pretty simple though. So I want you to look at the revenue and go down to roads, bridges, and walks, and then go to your right to the second column, 106,645.71. You'll see that number again, and then kind of the rest of these numbers are sort of scattered around, and this is another thing that we're not going to approve tonight. I'll get you guys a hard copy if you want to look at it. But the total then, total expense 246,550 basically. If you look at those two numbers on the next page 45, then you see the $246,550. That's the total expenses that we had out of our general and special road use fund accounts. Okay, and then the next page 46, you see that road use revenue of $106,646. Now, you also see $130,598. We had to have that revenue from the general fund to be able to pay all those expenses. And just like I told you before with our annual financial report, we spent so much money last year in all of our funds that some of them are going to be negative. well, we can't have this one negative, the state won't allow us to in this report, so that's why we have to transfer that money in.
So you guys look that over, if you have any questions about it, ask or come in or call or whatever that may be. And if you wanna, hard copy, we can get you that, pretty simple. That one, there is nothing on that.
Okay. All right, thank you.
If nobody's got any questions, I'd make a motion to approve resolution 2024-26, street financial report.
I'll second that.
We moved and said that we approve resolutions 2024-26, street financial report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed. Next thing, discuss and approve resolution 2024-27, resolution approving a bonus for Chris Rodman for the search grant received in September.
I make a motion, we approve resolution 2024-27.
I will second that.
We moved this time, we approve 2024-27. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Discuss and approve September employee vacation, utility reconciliation, budget, clerk's report.
So, I've been thinking about this for an awful long time, and I'm gonna change the way that I do this. Hopefully you guys will like what I'm doing, because I think, you know, we approve the bills every 2 weeks, or every second and fourth Mondays, whatever that may be. So I don't think there's really any reason for me to go through every account every month. And one of the things that we haven't done over the last few years, and that our auditor is asking us to do, is to detail the budget sheet, which is page 54. If you look at that, one of the things that I think maybe is state code is that we are supposed to go through each one of these funds, I guess I'll call them, and say, this is how much money we brought in, and this is how much we spent out of this fund each month. And so this is something that we will put in the minutes. So we'll send this to the paper and just have this in the minutes. But so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys this, and I've given you before. You've seen this before. But just, you know, highlight some of the things that are on there, because there are a lot of months where we don't make enough money in a fund to, you know, to be able to pay all the bills. But then there are some months where we do. And so for the most part, you know, we end up pretty good as far as revenues and expenses go. So one of the things I want to point out in this one is line 5. On page 54, line 5, you'll see that negative $321,000. We will never have any, well, I shouldn't say that. We do have some, but very little. You can see we have $43 of revenue in our community and economic development. And those are fees that we get very, very sparsely. We hardly ever get any fees out of there. And if we do spend money in there, it's because we're doing a project. We're building something for our community. And so that's why you see this $300,000 difference in here. And that $300,000 represents a $230,000-ish check that we wrote for our new subdivision, and an $80,000-ish check that we're writing for our new generator in the back here. So that's those two added together. And basically the way we're paying for that is we borrow money, right, to pay for the subdivision. The generator, we will get a grant back for, so we pay for that out of our savings account. So eventually we'll get a grant back for that. That'll take us a little bit of time yet. So, you know, if you look at that, total, $240,000, that's negative. Really, that whole thing is basically that $320,000, and so that obviously makes up quite a bit of that. And then, I guess from there, you can see our balance sheet, and you know, since we got the money that we borrowed, our balance sheet looks pretty good again. One thing I do want to point out on here is you see kind of at the top, the fourth line down, Endow Iowa Savings. I don't know how long it's been, 3 or 4 years, maybe 2 years, that we've had an endowment account. I don't even know, were you on council when we
Just
did that?
started.
Just started, okay.
Just started, yeah.
So, that every year we get a new balance that says this is how much interest you made. And so this year it was a little over $7,000. It went from 136 to 143. And along with that, we can get 5% of that money. So we can get 5% of the 136, take it out, and we can spend it on some kind of a project. But we've kind of talked about not doing that for the first few years, just leaving it in there and letting it build up. Now, that doesn't mean that we couldn't change our mind if we wanted to do that. Just so that's there.
It's a one-time year deal, but you can take it out, right?
Once a year, yeah. Yeah. Usually it will be in the August timeframe.
Yeah.
So then, what I've changed is the actual report that you'll look at. Okay, we used to look at reports by fund, and so police, revenue, and expense were right there. Now what you're going to see is all of our revenues. Okay, so you'll see about a page and a half, actually. Maybe 3.5 pages of 4.5 pages, 3.5 pages of revenues, and you'll see at the bottom total revenues were $271,311.39. Okay, not a lot of reason for me to go through each one of those. I will though point out to you on page 57 in our donations you can see the $29,000 that we got in the search grant. So we just got that done, and what that paid for was our engineering report for our sewer project that we've been working on for a couple of years. So all of those revenues, and then expenses start on page 59, and you can see in the expenses and even in some of the revenues, I wrote some notes next to things. Just so you guys, you know, the bigger numbers kind of stick out. You guys see that, you might be like, oh, what do we spend that money for? So I tried to point that out. You'll remember, oh yeah, right, we bought a volleyball net system for the rec. That's right, I remember that. So I tried to do that. If you have any questions about any of it, then I would certainly try to explain those to you. But otherwise, that's all I'm really going to say anymore about the clerk's report. I feel like you guys are, you don't want to sit through that whole long, drawn-out thing. And if you guys do have questions, you always know my door's open. Come in and ask whatever it is that you want to ask.
Well, the thing I like about the way you do it, you usually highlight if there's something special you want us to look at. That helps too.
I make a motion to approve the new and approved clerk's report.
Second that.
We moved and seconded, we approved the new and approved clerk's report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I like the improved part, Randy. I was worried you would want me to continue to drag it out.
You know I love that.
Discuss approved spare change liquor license.
I make a motion to approve spare change liquor license.
Move that we approve the liquor license, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Discuss and approve Albright Oil TIF rehabilitation.
So this is something that you guys heard about at the last meeting. I didn't have the exact number. Asked you guys to approve something that was just under $5,000. Felt like it was probably important for you to be able to see what the actual number was. So then I brought this back, and this is something that we'll be able to certify as debt next year. Okay, since we already did this year, we'll do this for next year. It's still certifiable.
But you need this approved.
Yeah, if you would,
I'll make a motion that we approve the Albright Oil rehab.
I'll second that.
Move to say we approve Albright Oil rehab, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Discuss and approve Bateman Pool project.
So, he's had a lot of discussion about this in the last couple of weeks.
No, I didn't.
Seems like, this is, there's not a lot of gray area here. There's either, yes, I think we should do it, or no, I don't think we should. And so I feel like this tonight is not the night to make a decision on it, but it's definitely a night to have some discussion about it and see, what your thoughts are. And then, once you guys do that, then I'll tell you some of the conversations that I've had.
I just had a discussion with some of the pool board members, and they assumed when we talked about this liner that we were gonna do a liner and it was gonna be all over with. And I just told them that's not our plan. Our plan is to use the liner as a Band-Aid till we get to the point where we can build something or raise money to build something that we want. So they're all in favor of it.
They were okay with that
Yes,
then?
yes.
That's how I kind of feel too, Francis. The ideas that we've had out there with splash pad and stuff, it's gonna cost a lot of money, and we may not have that right now, but we got the baby pool going, we do some improvements on it, keep it going until we do that. That's how I felt too. I thought it was positive, it was open again last summer.
Yeah.
I agree. I feel the same way. We've got enough projects going that get some money earned to put towards the slash pad or whatever.
At least
something
keeps
like
us
that.
moving.
Yeah.
That way I got someplace to go when I go to the pool. I know, I can.
Brody, do you have any?
I feel the same way. I mean, we don't have the money to do a splash pad or anything, so.
You said the pool cost what, what did you say the pool cost that time?
Yeah.
They were.
Pools range, right? I mean,
Yeah.
depending on what you have and what you want. So you could spend $1 million, or you could probably spend 10. I don't know. However that goes, but so one of the conversations I had was that maybe this is a 5-year fix, and we start tomorrow raising money to get to that 5 years, and whatever that number is, if it's 2 million or 3 million or $1 million, just find some people in town who are passionate about this, and we know that there are some because we've all talked to them, and tell them you guys get to work on raising money, and we've already got a pool account for when we redid our big pool. We had a pool account set up at Westside so we can have money put in there that doesn't get spent on anything except for pool. So I don't know. I guess I came to the conclusion that maybe tonight's not the right night, because even if we approve this tonight, they can't have it put in by the end of this year. I mean, they have to start, I think, in the spring. It's just going to get too cold too fast, and so.
But that would be our goal, to be doing it in the spring then, right?
If we decide that this is what we want to do,
Right,
I think
right.
we would ask them to have us first on the list.
Yeah.
And have it for next pool season. Yes, I think that would certainly be our goal.
I think also having that said, so we make sure we're first on the list, we need to prove it sooner than later.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think that's a good idea too.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll say, we're slowing down and we've got time, and yes, it'll be fine yet this year. Can we do it this year yet?
Could be, I know the guy that I was talking to, you know, a couple of weeks ago, he was telling me, hey, I need to get out there now. This was maybe the 25th or so of September. I need to get out there now so I can get this done. I don't know what he'll say now, but, I mean, I got his phone number, I can certainly call him.
And I'm okay with it as long as we do it.
Yeah.
The first, when we're ready to open, it's done, ready to
Yeah.
go.
No question, we would want that.
Yeah.
If that's something that we're gonna do. Now, I'm not saying that you guys can't make a decision tonight, but, you know, I just assumed that maybe tonight wasn't the right night to make the decision, but if you guys are ready to.
I mean, if we're all on board with it, I mean, why drag it out another 2 weeks?
Did anybody here have a conversation with Tommy?
I did not.
Because I did. I talked to Tommy and he said that, so paraphrasing for, you know, lack of him being here, he said that he wasn't, that he was, I guess I don't know exactly how to say it. Not that he isn't in favor of it, but it's not his first thought of what he would do.
We wanna wait for the next
Well, let's
council
wait
meeting.
for the next one when he gets here so we
And then
can
we
see
get,
what his thoughts
put it
are.
back on the agenda again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Then he can speak for himself.
Yeah, let's do that.
Now we'll prod him, but I don't think we have to.
No, and he didn't say he was against it. He just, you know, thought that maybe there's a better way to spend $25,000.
I was gonna say, it's a
That's
lot of money.
That's to put it in.
Unfortunately, anything you do with the pool is gonna cost a lot.
Yeah, and sort of his thought is put the $25,000 in a pot so we can start raising money. Which,
Yeah.
I don't think that's a bad idea either, honestly.
Is there a, you know, when you and I talk, it definitely saves us water, right? We put a liner in,
Sure.
saves maintenance. Can we, how much money it does save us?
So I will tell you this, we spend about $1,000 a year on paint.
Okay,
And then what does it take to paint? How many hours, how much dollars? So, you know, you're probably gonna save $1,500 a year
just with the paint process.
just in labor and paint. The water and the chemicals, I mean, we could probably figure that out, but that'd be just kind of a, you know,
Yes.
maybe a guess, you know? And that's gonna be in the couple $100 range, that's not gonna be a huge.
So you're
amount of
looking
money.
at 2,000 or less right now.
Right, a couple $1,000 it would save you, and so if it took us 5 years to raise the money, maybe it saves us $10,000, I don't know. I know that I can go to Sac County and ask them for funding. They have an account that is basically just for projects, and it doesn't matter what the project is. That's $7,500, and I think we could get that pretty easy.
Would it be dumb to, with Tommy's thought process of looking forward, the money we save every year, we put back toward that project? In other words, we save 2,000 a year, and 5 years we're ready to go, and we've saved $10,000. I don't know, is that something you'd look at?
Just automatically put $2,000 in the bank account.
If we're saving that every year by having the liner, I don't know.
That's a good idea.
Then you got, at the end
Doesn't
of that
hurt.
5 year period, you got $10,000 that you can put toward that project.
But you already spent the 25, right?
Right,
Right.
you have.
So if you're gonna spend 10 in 5 years, why don't we put 15,000 in it? Keep it the way it is.
Yeah.
You know? I mean,
Yeah. I think that's a decision we need to make, where we wanna put the money.
And so that's why I think maybe tonight's not the right night to make the decision, and we continue to have this kind of discussion.
Yeah.
And then wait for Tommy to tell us what we're gonna do.
That is a good idea. So like that, guys, anything else?
If we have nothing else, I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
second that.
Moved to, y'all adjourn, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
You librarians, you think a nice gal.